Morning and what's up everybody, this is D, chilling with a little short shot of the frag tank as it's Saturday morning, it's snowing outside and I'm doing a little maintenance, and I said let me just give you guys a shot of the maintenance and the routine that I do. All of us get up in the morning, look at our tanks, do all that good stuff, and we do a little quick 5 minutes maintenance here, which includes cleaning the glass. I use newspaper, which I've been using forever. It gets all the little watermarks out. Spray a little bit of water on it. You can use special glass cleaners. Sometimes I don't. To tell you the God's honest truth, I have been known to use a little bit of vinegar diluted glass cleaner on the outside of glass just to get the salt creep off the front. And I found that newspaper does one of the best jobs. Wet side first, get the salt creep off the top, flip it over on the dry side, buffs it out, doesn't scratch anything, doesn't leave any residue. You can see the reflection in there is really cool. I got my little magnet here, which also this side of the magnet right here can also dirty your tank. So I want to wipe that off. You can see the stuff floating off of the magnet. That was like algae. I used to use this to hold algae sometimes. So I usually annoy the heck out of my sea urchin when I do this because he likes to come to the glass. I don't know how good their eyesight is, but when I start cleaning, he comes right up to the front and gets in the way. So I have to tap him so that he knows to move away from the glass. Leave my magnet there. I'll give it another once over with the old paper towel. You can see that really does the trick. Nothing fancy. Then I have my inside cleaner here, which you guys, if you watch regularly, you know this is one of the things I used to sell a while back online. But it's basically for glass tanks, not for acrylic tanks, because it has a little razor on there. It's really thin. You can replace them easily. You can get them with the shaving razors, that little square ones that flip over. Does the best job and the quickest, most efficient job at getting into tight places like this. This is a small tank, has a lot of nooks and crannies in it. That can be hard to get to with magnetic cleaners. You can see I can get in between frags and stuff. You can get it way down there. You can get coralline off really easily with this. Comes right off. You can see I can pass it through the pacillipora without bothering anybody. Only thing you want to be careful when you use these razors is not to get into the silicone. You don't want to get into the silicone because you can remove the silicone from your tank really easily, and that creates a problem. When I finish using these, I put them on the side. Always rinse them with fresh water. That'll save your blades. Even though they're stainless steel, the blades can really dull real quick. The salt will dilapidate them and corrode them. You want to get all this stuff floating in the water. One of the things that I do also, which people don't do, they talk about bubble scrubbing. I have my little D's doser here, a little syringe. I do this a few times. I fill it with the tank water and I inject air bubbles into the water. And I'm gonna tell you why I do that. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I inject air bubbles into the water for two reasons. First reason, oxygenates the water because you're releasing algae and things that were on the glass into the water column. This actually captures them the same way a protein skimmer does as they go into the water column. So you fill this with water, raise it above the water line. Hopefully you can see it up there. It's above the water line. And as it hits the water real fast, it injects that air into the water, which captures the floating particles and helps them go into the overflow. Also, it oxygenates the water. Salt water is low in oxygen as compared to fresh water, so the more you can free oxygen into the water, the healthier and the better your animals are. Been doing this a long time. I see people talk about bubble scrubbing and all that. It's really a new terminology, very old concept. Very, very old concept. I just don't pump bubbles into my water. I do it on an occasional basis. And you'll also see the colors in your coral will sometimes brighten up when you add oxygen into the water. Alright, so with that being done, I do that a few times. This is the time that you want to change your pad. I'm going to move the camera. My little pads are over here in my overflow area. You can see all of this is my built-in overflow area. This is a no sump tank. Everything is built into the tank. It's a 20 long with everything built in. Basically takes about 2 or 3 gallons of the water out. I keep this cover over that area so that the condensation, you don't lose as much water. As you can see, it's a little bit warped, so I flip it over every time I move it, because the heat that's trapped in by that sump area actually keeps the tank a little warm and it reduces evaporation. I got my Reef Octopus protein skimmer, which is in there. I want to take this time to empty the cup, clean it out. For the sake of video, I do that real quick. Boom, bam, cleaned out. Smack that back on there. All right. Now the really, really easy part is, let me get something so I do not make a mess. I'll use this bucket lid because I want to take the filter floss out. My tank is primarily cleaned by filter floss, and if you can see this, it is filthy. Let me get you a closer look. White side, dark side, white side, dark side. The reason I don't use filter socks and I use filter floss, because look how easily I change it out. I take this, dump it out. I take another one, which I have already pre-cut. Fold it one time right here, slip it right in there. Filter changed. Boom. You don't get no cleaner or easier than that. Everything is ready to go. The water never stops. You never stop movement. I'm gonna squeeze that in here real quick. Boom, bam, done. I'll throw this one over here, my slop sink. That is now done. I'll probably do a small water change later, but in my little overflow area, I like everything to be clean. I don't like to see that salt creep, so I'll actually go in here, clean that out a little bit here, make it look nice and presentable, especially where you have these return pumps and things. You can get a lot of sediment where these return pumps are, because although you have your pump there moving, it also has quite a few dead spots in those little areas. And I like to know what's going on in my sump all the time, especially where my top off is. You don't want to let salt creep build up over here. Alright, that's another reason I have ye old turkey baster now. I should have did it before I replaced the pad, but I'll do it now because I got a new pad to capture everything. You're going to go in with the turkey baster. I don't have gravel or sand, but what I do is get down in there, any stagnant areas. You want to force all of that crap into the water column so that it can be captured by the filter pads. And one thing that this also does, this is a lot of sediment, which are nutrient sinks for your tank. This also feeds the corals. You don't see it. You see it as like dirt or whatever, but it's actually, it's food, it's waste, it's a lot of sediment of just even the additives that you add into the tank. They calcify and they go into the base rock of the tank. You can see how much is in here, and I don't have sand. Imagine if I had sand. Fill it into the water column, get it moving, let it get captured, let it go into your filter pads. One good thing about filter pads is they're cheap and easy to replace. So I got no problem doing this. You can see the corals haven't closed up. I'll go back in here with my little forced air and get that stuff moving. I try to keep my cover on here, my little screen cover, because when you got your hands in your tank, you can always rattle the fish up and get them all hyped up. Sometimes they'll speed around and jump. You don't want them flying on the floor. You'll see how quickly this clears up, because that air captures everything, raises it to the surface, goes right into the overflow. But if you want to run a pump and use an air stone and do this bubbling, you can do that. You can turn it on just when you're cleaning your tank. I don't, because I'm a big believer in less equipment is always better. I get a little bit of a workout too. That don't hurt. All right. Now, if you got any additives, if you got your alkalinity, if you're not using a doser, I don't, because this tank is really small. I break it down into my little bottles. This one is calcium. This one is alkalinity. Recycle. Use these little like I think they're 3 ounce or 4 ounce water bottles. And my little D's doser. For this tank, I usually use 5 ounces. Boom, 5 ounces. Inject it right into the area where the water's flowing. Put one back there where my J-bow is. And one where the return pump is. And I am guaranteed equal circulation throughout the tank. Clean this out so I don't have any additives still in there. Alright, that's all cleaned out. Put that away and let it do its thing. One thing about this system is I'm a big believer in the KISS method. Keep it simple. You know, I have my little brush, clean out the overflow area. Like I said, salt creep and things can be major causes of very problems, and the funny thing is it's very easy to address. Just go in there and clean it. The easier it is for you to clean it, the more likely that you will clean it. That's it. I clean out the area where the water overflows into the sump, because if you have algae that sits on that area, it will promote algae growth in your sump. People wonder why they have a lot of algae in the sump. It's usually anywhere where the water is stagnant or moving past your pumps. There's probably algae there, and it will spread it throughout your tank. So you'll get rid of it, it'll come back, get rid of it, come back, get rid of it, come back. That's usually the main cause, is algae in your system that you have not removed. All right. Now that since we've been goofing around, we want to give it one more wipe of the glass. Salt creep is gone. And that's it. That's the 10-minute maintenance routine of the tank. Hope you guys were with me. I know it's rather early. Probably weren't up. I'd like to do things early. It's not that early. It's about 11 o'clock, so. Alright, I'll check back later, but it's 11 o'clock now. The tank is clean. Everything is in the water column. You can see the colors coming back. They're really sharp. You can see all the sediment rising up. Actually, you can see it coming off, moving into the water column. I have my little homemade D's extended doser that I can go in and blow things off the rock just by using forced air. Keeps the tank looking clean. Keeps my hands out of the tank also. I can blow off my corals if there's any sediment on them. See, the sea urchin gets really PO'd. But you can see how much water circulation there is because how quickly it picks up. It moves right into that overflow. That's what you want. You want water moving to the end of the tank and back to the overflow. Moving this way and back that way. It's full circulation of the tank. It's not blowing water. It's circulating water. Got to emphasize that there is a big difference between blowing water and circulating water. You don't have to necessarily see everything blowing into a tornado, but you want to make sure that water is moving throughout the tank. All right. That being said, I'm going to have a little late brunch. Bada bang. See how this thing moves up to the surface? And boop, goes that way. All right, this is D. I'm going to sign out, leave you with this. Leave your comments below. I'll post this live video on the channel so you can watch it later. But now, homie is going to have some coffee and chill out. So, till next time, signing out. Click subscribe. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram, D from Brooklyn. See you, baby. I'm out. Love, peace, and head grease.